Hello everyone, Anita here and welcome to another video. Today I have a different kind of video for you, and that's because I want to tell you a story. I get into that mood once in a while, once in a couple of months. I start researching my family ties. It's an ongoing thing for years now. Like where my grandparents come from, looking at church records, that kind of thing. And after I'm done with that, it always makes me want to write down my own stories so that I don't have to put my potential kids through the same thing if they get an idea that they would like to research our family. Because just looking through church records is a nightmare, okay? It isn't easy at all. Although, kind of like a little confession, it kind of makes me feel a bit like Indiana Jones, with this I'm solving a mystery. It's kind of exciting. So today, because I'm in that mood, I've decided I will tell you the story about this one time that I applied to art school. I mean, you might be somewhat familiar with it because I must have mentioned it before in passing. But now I will just tell you the entire story, okay, from the beginning to the end. So, right after I finished high school, it was the darkest time in my life. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life at all. I'm a very easygoing person, to a certain degree. I was really, because I can't really say that to a certain degree I still am a very easygoing person, but the degree that I was before is it's a completely different level, okay? I was very naive, and I had this "it's all going to work out somehow, it's all going to be fine" mindset. I have no idea where it's coming from. It's considering my family situation and the way I grew up, I don't know where it's coming from, but I was really easygoing, naive, kind of like just floating around. And I was creative, my whole life. A lot of people are creative that way. It's just kind of like you have people that are more creative, and then you have people who are more like, I call it math driven, like my mother, for example, more towards the technical stuff, I guess. So I was creative my whole life. And my biggest dream, somewhere in the back of my head, my biggest dream was to study art. It wasn't encouraged in any way by anybody. And so it was always just like this passing thought that would be just amazing to study art. And mind you, I actually didn't know what kind of art I would like to study at all. It was just art. I wanted to do art. Okay? I honestly had no idea what that kind of what it was about, art. I just wanted to do art. That's all. That was all the care I had about it. It's a similar way I knew that after school I had to go find a job, because that's what you did. You finished school and you got a job. Okay? There was no job description in my head. It was just a job. Okay? I had a vague idea that I would go to a place and work. What that work would be, just work. Okay? So we had only one art academy, or any kind of school, art school in my hometown at that time, mind you. Okay, I was really lucky to actually even have one. I really don't know how it is now, but back then, you could only go into general painting department. And then you had a sculpting department. There was something else I can't remember. I think it was surface. No, it couldn't be surface design, because that was in a different town. But there was the last option, which was my chosen option, was architectural design. So it wasn't architecture and it wasn't interior design. It was just something in between. It made sense to have a degree like that in my town, because my hometown is a very historic town. And if I remember correctly, one of the specialties that you could do was building restoration, for example. So that kind of general idea. And my approach to this exam was very interesting, okay? Let's call it interesting. I had no experience whatsoever with art studies, no preparation. And later, I actually found that a lot of the kids that were, you know, the examinees, the kids that were taking the exam would have private classes, actually, private tutors to get their skills to a high level. And the competition was insane. I think that year, if I remember correctly, I mean, it's been many years, but it was something like 1 in 5 students that would pass the exam, or even higher, I believe. And, you know, among all that, I was you know, me, you know, bright-eyed, you know, pure romantic, who, yeah, I don't know. I was hoping somehow that someone would notice my raw talent. Okay, don't judge me. It was like seriously 15 years ago, okay? I had no idea back then. But that was just my general mindset, okay? You had to pay a fee for this exam, and it was quite a substantial fee. I mean, at the moment when I'm thinking about it, it's not really high compared to what you pay for other exams. But for me, for my family at the time, it was quite substantial. I still can't believe that my mom actually let me do this. I think she just wanted to, like, let her try it. She's gonna burn herself and she will know better. I guess it was a, you know, it was a mindset, especially when I didn't have any preparation. And I remember that you also had to get a lot of supplies to participate. You have like this whole list of things that you have to bring. And, you know, all the regular stuff that any real art student would have. But for me, well, you know, I had to buy all the supplies listed. And I actually used them for the first time ever during that exam, like ever. I've never actually used these supplies before. So that should give you kind of a better picture of, you know, what we were dealing with back then. Yeah, the exam had, I believe, 2 stages. The exam had 2 stages. There was practical exams and then portfolio review once you got through that practical exam. Which was really smart, I think. That's kind of prevented them from dealing with people like me. And my mind is actually a bit messy about this part because I remember very clearly that it was 3 days. And I remember that it was 2 exams per day. However, when I kind of try to recall the actual exams, I only get to 4. So I can only remember 4 exams. So I think that it might have been that there were 2 days of exam, and then on the 3rd day was just the, you know, you got the list of grades, I guess, of the people who, you know, they let you know if you passed or not. And then afterwards, I think you went straight to portfolio review, because if I remember correctly, they told you to bring your portfolio just in case. I think, I mean, it was 15 years ago, okay? And I knew from day one that I wouldn't pass. I just wouldn't make it. I wouldn't pass. And while before I actually got there, I was kind of hoping that I would somehow get in, you know, by some random miracle in a very romantic novel kind of way. But like, luckily I was never like conceited enough, and I never really thought too high about my own skills. So the moment I actually, ooh, I'm hitting the microphone. Sorry guys. The moment I actually saw how other students worked and how they approached the topics, the assignments, I knew immediately that I wouldn't make it. I just knew it. Honestly, I even remember thinking that if I made it and these people didn't, that would be just completely unfair. But in a true Anita fashion, that didn't put me down at all. I very rarely dwelled back then on any bad aspects of my situation. And also in this case, I just quickly got over that fact that I wouldn't pass and decided to just enjoy the experience, to just get as much out of it as I could. Because guys, I was ecstatic, okay? I was just in art heaven. I was sitting among other students in this historic hall with stone walls and arched ceilings. It was like a newly renovated gate to the city, to the town, like old city gate. And I was just as happy as I could ever be. I don't remember being happy with anything like this before, on that level. I can't even describe it well. It's just, it was the first time that I have ever attended something resembling an art class. Who cares if it was an exam, you know? It's like I had an assignment, I had a huge table just for me, and I was surrounded by like-minded people. I was floating, guys. It was just like I was floating on air, and I was happy. I was like this bubble of happiness. So the first day was dedicated to like specialized exams. So they were testing us on things that have specifically to do with the chosen chosen course. So in my case, it was the architectural designs. Architectural design, was it? Oh my god, I don't even remember how it was exactly called. So they were testing our ability to make like good composition and read technical drawings and then, you know, translate them into sketches. I remember very clearly that we had to render some textures, like that was an actual point in the assignment to show them how we render textures on paper. There was something, some kind of design that I'm not exactly sure. It's been a while. I very clearly remember the composition because that was the first assignment, and then the rendering, the sketch, the technical drawing, because that was more. I actually always liked technical drawings. I always liked looking at them and just reading them. They fascinated me, so I remember it really, really clearly. And I mean, it makes sense, you know, these kind of exams, because it's that interior architecture design thing, so it makes sense. And I can very clearly say that I had no idea what I was doing. Like, end of story, period. Just no idea. My idea of composition at the time was that you had to make one. You know, a composition, like an arrangement of objects. Rules? What's that? What rules, you know? It definitely was an experience, especially looking back, because now I have definitely much more knowledge than before. I have to laugh at myself. And we had those blocks of time for each exam, so they were a couple of hours per block. And so there was like one in the morning, I think, at 9 till 1, I believe. Then there was lunch break till 3, I think, and then we had another block in the evening till 7. So it was like an entire day of just art. Okay, not even exam for me, art. The second day was much more traditional. They put us in front of easels, and in the morning, I believe we did a charcoal still life drawing. That was my first time touching charcoal, by the way. And in the evening, we were painting, it was either the same or just a slightly different still life. I think it was slightly different one. And that was also my very first time using an easel. And I think, yeah, it was definitely my second time doing still life. The first one being actually for the portfolio. So, yeah, I remember watching my easel, like, neighbor people, and I was wondering why in the world everything they did was so muddy. I was already in the painting section. Everything just looked like blobs, and you know, there's just like there was no detail. And I found out a couple of years later that this was the way they do it, apparently. I went a couple of times to this little community class nearby my next school, my university, and or college, I guess I should say. And the lady that was in charge of us told me once that I was concentrating way too much on the details, and I should just look more on the general shapes and the values and nothing more. But the problem was, and that's probably not going to be a surprise for you guys by now, but I had no interest in those. So it really didn't occur to me that it was the best way to test how the students, you know, saw the shapes and how they related, the shapes related to one another, and you know, how the values, I mean, always values. I was just interested in the little things, like the way there was like this little pattern on a bottle, and I was completely entranced by that because I liked it. But that's different than when you are actually having an exam, because, you know, when you're being examined, you have to show your skills, not that you are completely obsessed with details. So yeah, it was the first time using an easel, first time using the paint, first time actually being in a painting studio. And at this point already, I was very self-aware of, I was self-aware, let's say, enough to notice that the other students were, let's call it, surprised to see my work. Or maybe it also might be I was just getting steadily, you know, more embarrassed, because I knew, I knew immediately that I wasn't up to the level that was needed. And, you know, both options are very much possible. At the same time, though, I was once again in heaven. Okay, the studio space was just so amazing. It had those slanted like roof windows that give the best light, and the smell was just to die for, and the general mood was so inspiring. I seriously, if I could do it again, I would have, honestly. Yeah. And of course, you know, it shouldn't be surprising that I didn't pass. Okay, there's no spoiler here. I wasn't even near the cutoff line, and I very clearly, even despite that, I very clearly remember being disappointed. Even though I knew that it would never happen, just maybe part of me was hoping, but yeah, let's be honest, I knew it wouldn't happen. Like, you know, part of me, I was hoping, you know, that by some miracle I would get a chance to present my portfolio. I knew that I wouldn't get to school, but I wanted, yeah, I wasn't really disappointed in not getting into the school. I was more disappointed in that this whole experience was just about to end. I honestly, I didn't care much about the school at all. It clearly became very apparent to me, but I just wanted to be surrounded by, you know, by art and artistic people. It's, yeah. All in all, you know, I'm actually glad that I didn't get in. I don't think I would be a good fit for that course. I've learned that, you know, as time passed, I've realized more what I wanted to do with myself. And most likely I would just end up resenting it or changing it or something, but I wouldn't probably change it. Like, I've chosen my college. I went to, like, after that, I've chosen my college in a similar way. I've chosen the Art Academy course. And I honestly don't even remember what we were learning about in my college. So very quickly I realized it wasn't for me, and I didn't change it because I like to stick through things. And yeah, I didn't really have passion for it. Having passion is a gift, and even now I can't really say that I'm fully passionate about something or anything. Like I mean anything. I like to do a lot of things, but having a passion is kind of a luxury that I haven't experienced yet, like this kind of single-mindedness, like when you go into something with a single mind and just do it. Yeah, still, I remember this experience really, really fondly. It kind of gave me a glimpse into a world I've never seen before. I've only kind of dreamt about it, and I mean, honestly, I kind of admired the guts the baby me had to do this. I mean, just imagine. I think it just comes from like pure baby-like ignorance, because honestly, imagine going into an exam without having any preparation whatsoever. Yeah. So I admire my baby self for that. But that exam definitely changed me, and it definitely pushed me more into thinking about my creativity. Because before that, I haven't really done much of anything. I've drew a little bit, I was sketching, I've used mostly just, you know, just a pencil or pen. But straight after this exam, after failing this exam, I did apply for an interior design course and started learning watercolor. So it had a very beneficial, you know, impact on me. I would totally do it again. So guys, did you ever have a similar experience? I would love to hear about, because like, it is still embarrassing for me a little bit. Did you ever attend an exam or a work or any activity really without any preparation and knowing nothing about it and just hoping for the best? Just please let me know. But for now, yeah, thank you so much for listening to me and for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed the piece that I have in the background. If you're interested in the full version of this video, it's available for my $5 tier patrons on Patreon as a full video for last month. So yeah, thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!